let's go a little bit into the method of organizing. It was mentioned earlier. In fact, you know, that was such a good introduction. I was going to stand up and just say, all right, time for questions, you know. But I want to talk a little bit more about the sword and the shield. And we have this, the method that we use, we often refer to as the sword and the shield, where the shield is legal defense and the sword is public pressure and public protest. But we use this symbol, this metaphor, not just because it's a good combination of legal and organizing, but also because it says we're in a fight. This isn't a technical thing, and let's all be for human rights. This is raw power we're talking about. And they're going to come after you and come after you and come after you until we resist. You know, that famous statement by Frederick Douglass, you know, find out how much oppression we're willing to take, and you'll find out how much oppression we're going to get, you know? So that idea of the sword and the shield is our way of conveying the understanding that we're in a fight, and you have to have both something to defend yourself with and something to go after the other side with. So it's really an important thing. Now, we sometimes say that, you know, people have lots of grievances. I mean, all of us are hurt by the system. But a grievance really isn't an issue that anybody cares about. It doesn't really become a problem or an issue until it's combined with two other things. One is a sense of righteousness on the part of those who are oppressed. In other words, the sense that by fighting back on my own case, I'm fighting for something much bigger. And a sense of power. Because if you don't think you can win, you're not going to engage in the struggle. If you think it's really hopeless, you're not going to fight. So in addition to a grievance, in addition to hurt, we need a sense of righteousness and a sense of power. So we have a method that we call the 5 masses that kind of defines our organizing in both tenant work and bank organizing work. And I'm going to touch on a couple of them, but they are mass outreach, mass meetings, mass casework, mass actions, and mass political education and discussion. Some of them are obvious, like, of course, we want to reach out as broadly as we can to those who are facing foreclosure or those who are facing rent increases and are about to be driven out of their home. But let me touch for a minute on the mass meetings, because our meetings have often been described, and this may be true of yours as well, but our meetings are often described more as revivals than as meetings. There's a lot of ritual in our meetings, and that thing that we did just a minute ago, that, you know, somebody stands up in front of the room and says, you know, and we ask them, are you willing to fight to stay in your home? And they say yes, and the whole crowd yells out, we'll fight with you. This, okay. I feel like I'm in Boston. So all those rituals that we use, and there's a lot more of them than that. You know, we go through those introductions, we look at last week's actions and the week's actions coming up. We have political education and discussion, and we have breakout groups. But throughout that, there's a lot of rituals and chants that we use. But all of it is designed to overcome isolation, overcome alienation. And it's surprising still to me to this day, even though I've been doing this so long, how important that is. Yes, you need legal knowledge. You need to know your rights. And yes, protests are important. But man, you can't feel like you're alone. If you feel like you're alone, you just can't fight, or it's very hard to fight. And that sense of isolation is something that they, our enemies, are very, very good at forcing on us. You know, that whole thing of, you know, you're your own bottom, and your sense of morality in the world is I can't fail my children, which of course we all agree with. But you can't make ends meet. It's not set up that way. So we have to fight together. And so our meetings are primarily designed to get people's voices back. You know, one of my colleagues, Antonio Ennis, who if you Google on YouTube, you can get his bank attack video. He's a well-known hip-hop star in Boston and beyond. And, you know, some years ago, he gave up what he describes as the life, and upon request by his daughters, and remained in music, of course, and he turned to making music about the struggle. And he did a whole CD of 16 takes on our movement. But when he first got to city life, you know, he's somebody who's used to being on the stage, you know, When he first got to City Life and came in the meeting and we wanted him to come up to the front, he didn't even announce himself as a new person. Took him a couple meetings to get his voice back. And he came down to an eviction blockade that we did just south of Boston, one that we lost. And it was so moving to him that, you know, he was really, as many people were that day, crying. And he said to me later, here I am thinking, you know, here I am with a persona kind of that's such a tough guy, and I'm crying here. And I know there's something profound going on. And that kind of way that our movement connects us. You know, we go out in front of people's homes to protest, and not only are we protesting them to defend them, but they're allowing us to organize our movement in front of their home. And that sense of connectedness and love that we get from that is so vital to us as human beings. You know, it's so crucial that lots and lots of people who have had eviction blockades who lost are still in our movement because of how much they gained beyond that. Melanie Griffiths, who was a key organizer at City Life for years, used to say, the two most important moments of my life, the two best things that happened to me in my life were my children's birth and my foreclosure. Because out of her foreclosure, she got connected to the movement, which has meant so much to us. And that's a powerful thing for all of us. A couple of things about the mass actions. As you guys do, we have a wide variety of actions. And I guess all I want to say about it is that, you know, we try to be as colorful as we can. We still use a prop that Bill Moyer helped make for us. And we do lots of different levels of militancy depending on what our people are ready to do at that moment and what the person we're defending is ready to do. But we just try to be really flexible about it because our goal is to have as many people involved and as much leadership from the people involved as possible. And then lastly, on political education, we do this through every meeting. And I think you do too. We have radical organizing conferences, but we try to have radical organizing discussions in every meeting that we do and in every course that we do. And you know, last Tuesday we had a big discussion about the protests in Boston the previous Thursday in response to the Eric Garner non-verdict. And you know, people are very, very moved, and that's the best part of the meeting. You know, they say, well, we talk about housing all the time, but we got to do this more. So that political education, that sense that every struggle is a doorway into something bigger, into something that's going to change the system, is a really important part of our political education and discussion.